It's time for the Viajante Stogie Roadshow with our special guest, Brian from Privada Cigar Club. And here's your host, El Viajante.
Hola, brothers and sisters of the Leaf. What is going on? Good to see everybody. I see Chris Haskell. I see Kevin Shahan. I see Kevin Shahan with 2 comments. I see Chris Haskell with 2 comments. I see Jim Miller. What's going on? Listen, guys. Glad you guys could join us this evening on this Thursday. Sorry if I'm a little congested. We've had some sicknesses in the house, and it has been quite the jucking and jiving, and I've been avoiding the sickness. But we've been getting so much rain here. I'm about ready to build an ark, and animals are following me around 2 by 2. So, man, it's been a crazy. I'm wearing a shirt too. Good job, Chris Haskell. Thank you. What's up, Dr. Gabby Caffey? I got my favorite fiddly on the line, Grace. What's going on, Caitlin Grace? Kate, what's up? What's up, Grace? What's up? Caitlin Mills is on. Listen, I'd sit here and I'd bumble, fumble, rumble, and mumble through the beginning here. But I'm really excited about the guest tonight. I'm going to bring him on right now. Let me see here if I get my technology working great. What's going on, my man? We are live here with Brian Descend. He is from Privada Cigar Club. I'm getting all my bling up, Brian. Hold on for a second here. Bang! Look at that. I'm getting my bling bling. There we go. How you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here.
Listen, the honor is all mine. We got what's up, Stick Man? Thanks for hopping on. So, listen, I was really excited when you said yes, you can make it on the show. So, one of the coolest things about having a show like this and having folks like you on is learning more about you. What got you into cigars, and more importantly, we really got to dig deep into this Privada Cigar Club because I was on your website, man. That thing is awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, for people that don't know, Privada Cigar Club is the first rare cigar of the month subscription box. Basically, what I do is I go out and I hunt for the rarest possible cigars. Sometimes we create those cigars, but they're all cigars that you cannot find at your local shop. I'd say in every box you're going to get something that's possibly dead stock, meaning it was made 10 years ago, 5 years ago, the company's defunct. They were great cigars, but they had no marketing budget, and
right.
That's it. The cigars have been sitting in an aging room, that didn't get paid for to some manufacturer like Dr. Caffey. And, he's like, hey, it's a great story. And I come around and I grab them, and I really appreciate it. And my people really appreciate, these cigars and the stories behind them. And each cigar comes with pairing notes of what to pair it with, and tasting notes, and a complete story on the background of where the cigar was made, who made it, why they made it, why it never came out, or why we have it. I think it's also a great educational experience, and I actually think it's the reason why we've taken off so much is because it is an experience. It's a monthly experience, whether you're a novice or a master. You're getting these 3 cigars. I mean, we have CEOs of some of the largest cigar companies in the game that are subscribers. They get the box every month, and they love the experience of what's, reading about those stories, getting the notes to look for while they're smoking.
Yeah.
And then, potentially what to pair it with if you so please.
Yeah, I got my first month. I got my first order. I'll tell you what, I've only smoked one. Okay, I've only smoked one, and it was the Uncle Paulie. And I'll tell you what, wow, big fan. And right before the show, we were talking a little bit about Uncle Paulie's cigar, and I said, man, that was good. And you started talking about the notes. So talk a little bit. I want the folks to hear a little bit about what we were talking about with the Uncle Paulie, because it was pretty interesting. It was what was going through my mind as you were saying it.
So, okay, so a lot of my members are, oh, we want full body. And so every once in a while, I do get to slip in a Connecticut shade there if it's absolutely fantastic. Okay. Some of the Connecticut shades we've had in the club are, I had a 5-year aged Davidoff Colorado Claro Special T. It's a
Hmm.
$25 cigar. The whole it covered the cost of the whole box. But some of these companies love what we're doing, and they're willing to share some of their better stuff with us to kind of keep their buzz up. You know, it is also a great promotion. The members of the club are social media fanatics, and they're all great people. And you know, they help me kind of create this awareness that allows me to get that stuff. So, but back to the question. The question is, this Connecticut shade. It's one of my favorite Connecticut shade wrappers. I've given it unbanded to people who smoke mostly Cuban cigars,
Yeah.
who are my favorite smoker, by the way. Okay, you know these guys. It
Yeah.
has to have 2 bands. It has to cost $30 a cigar, and
Yeah.
meanwhile, half the time you can't even get a good draw out of them.
Yeah.
So I give them an Uncle Paulie's when they tell me and I tell them it's Cuban, and they go, "Oh, this must be from," and it's like, yeah, okay, you know, but it's such, you know, a lot of people say that Connecticut shades get bitter or grassy, and that cigar, I feel like it never really. You're always waiting for it to go in a certain direction, and it never really goes there. Um, we found the cigar unbanded from Hochi Blanco, and we made it for the club. I tasted it somewhere through a sampling that they sent of test blends,
Yeah.
and they happened to have these laying around. So I grabbed these, and we fell in love with them. We called them the Good Morning.
Yeah.
And so people would go on the site and buy them for, I think they were $10 a pop. And so people would go on the site and buy them for whatever, and they fell in love with them. They were buying them by the dozens. We actually opened up a shop on our website. We were strictly a subscription-based thing, but some of the members kept telling me they wanted us to try to stock a little more of things so they could buy more if they fall in love with something. So we do that.
But it's
And
great. You're right though about the flavor, man. I was like, I had it with coffee, I had it in the morning, and it was just it had some nice transitions. It had that creamy note, a little bit of spice, but I love a cigar like that that gives me that cedary flavor, especially when you
yeah,
do the retro. I was like, man, this thing is just a great way to start the day.
it hits on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And so I got one of the things that I want to do through the club, and I do talk about social media and promotion a lot because that's where Privada really shines, and we're creating this community and culture online of cigar smokers who really care about what we're smoking.
Hmm.
I'm trying to do in cigars what people did in craft beer over the last 20 years. Okay, I really want people to not just throw a stick in their mouth, but know where it came from, why it's good, what they like best, the different things, nuances, and how to cut things a certain way, and how to just overall enjoy the experience and really respect the farming, the growing, the fermenting, the rolling. I mean, the whole deal. So what happened along the way is we've become very popular on social media, like I said, and
Yeah.
some people reached out to us, and we ended up working with this Los Angeles-based deli called Uncle Paulie's. And what Uncle Paulie's is a bunch of New York guys that are extremely successful in other industries like fashion and film, and they were living in LA because everything's out of LA right now.
Hmm.
So they were like, hey, we got to open something that has food that we like. So they did like a newer spin on the Italian deli of New York and New Jersey, that kind of thing. You go in there, you get a hoagie, a sub hero, whatever you call it where you're from,
Yeah.
right? And
Exactly.
the food's to die for. And so I ended up meeting the owner, this guy named John Buscemi. He's got a very popular fashion company, very expensive clothing, and he's done very well for himself. And he also enjoys a good cigar once in a while. So we talked about doing a cigar for the deli. And I thought it would be a great idea because it's really pushing cigar culture forward. Look, the FDA is out to get us no matter which way you cut it.
This is
And the
true.
more people that are aware of cigars, people that don't smoke cigars think that they're these cancer causing terrible things. And I'm not saying they don't come with any, health side effects, but I don't know about you. but I don't know anyone that's getting cancer over here. I know guys that have been smoking for 30 years, and 90% of the time, the people I do know that have gotten sick from things, it's not from the actual
Yeah.
cigars. So, and the FDA does studies, and so obviously it's not that bad for you. It's not cigarettes or vape, you
Right.
know. And so I truly feel like the more people that become aware of that, even if they don't become cigar smokers, but these fashion and film and people in more in the pop culture, you never know when one of these guys is going to end up in the president's, box at the football game and start talking about cigars and how cool
Yeah.
they are. And so that's part of what I'm doing here is creating this awareness. That's my big goal with this is to create awareness and to create a craft culture in cigars that where people really fall in love with this stuff. So anyway, long story short, I make this cigar, the Uncle Paulie. We put the band on it. The band even has their phone number and address to the
Yeah.
deli. Like,
Yeah. I thought that was funny when I saw that.
yeah.
You know what? If that's your goal, you're hitting it on the mark. Because I'll tell you what, I love the bag, and
But people got pissed. That's the part I didn't tell you. People got upset that I did that because we're
the
doing it with.
band or the name.
Yeah, well, no. So we reissued it as the Uncle Paulie.
Yeah.
It costs $13. But if you're a member, I'll give you a code for it. Okay.
Right.
But it costs $13 because I have to include them in the profits, and that's what they wanted to. Everything they do, they
Right.
do.
Yeah.
It's expensive stuff. So some of the members got pissed, but of course, they're all happy in the end because I give them the code and everything. But they felt like, hey, what does LA have to do with cigars? What does a deli have to do with cigars? And I understand that, but it's also, like I said, pushing the culture forward. So
Yeah, but there's cigar smokers in LA, and
yeah,
there's nothing better than a cigar after they eating a good deli sandwich, right?
sure,
I mean, come
absolutely.
on. But I was saying, I mean, you're going for that craft culture, and I think you hit you hit it out of the park. I love the bag. It's not overly pretentious or anything. It's very straightforward. Comes with a Boveda pack in it. Um, and
Boveda did that. It's good for somewhere between 9 and 12 months in that bag.
yeah, and a little write up too. I say a little write up. I'll tell you
It's a
what,
lot.
this is a fountain of information, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So each one of those cigars is a story and an experience, and that's what
Yeah.
I try to, get across.
I was reading through these, and it was you'll get these different clubs, and you just get your cigars, or you get Stogie Bird sends them in a really nice tube.
Beautiful.
Has some nice information on it as well. What's
Yeah.
up, Paul? Paul, my dad just hopped on. I do love this. This really gets in depth. It tells a story, and one of the things you brought up about fighting a good fight and bringing attention with the cigar industry. With the BCA, the Boutique Cigar Association, we're fighting that fight as well. And
Thank you.
this takes me back to the things why I got involved in the cigar industry and what really drove me and loved it. This tells a great story. So
Thanks.
I love the fact that you really get in depth with the blends or with each cigar and the blends, the brands, the history behind it, because there's a lot of everybody wants to know that, especially if you're going out and you're seeking rare finds or hard to find cigars. Because if I get a packet and I get a cigar and I'm like, oh hey great, Stogie Road cigars, this is really nice, and there's no story behind it, how could you get behind it? How can you understand it? Because that story is part of part of the enjoyment of smoking that cigar.
100%. 100%. And we've seen this in food and wine and beer now. So why not in cigars? One of the most handcrafted of all the handcrafted, crafts of all the culinary things. I mean, it's really, this is an art form, and these guys are artists, and I feel like they've been not disrespected, but the work has been commoditized for so long. It's been
Yeah.
cheapened, and there's still some great legends out there from Cuba that went somewhere else and started it all over again, and it's just awesome.
It is. When I was smoking cigars and I started traveling a lot for work, so I started going to cigar shops, and that's how I started this show, the Viajante Stogie Road Show, and it just kind of developed into something more than just doing cigar shop reviews. And one of the moments in for me, and I want to talk to you about your moment, but one of the moments for me that got the hook was my friend Duncan and I had driven down to Miami. So we drove all night and we arrived and we went to Felix Mesa's place, El Galan. And
Wow.
we sat down and Felix came out and he doesn't speak any English. He's a third generation Cuban tobacco farmer, has incredible, cigars. And he sat there and just gave us cigars. He fed us and he was telling us stories and showing us pictures of his grandfather's farm and
Wow.
everything from the tobacco farms to he was showing the pictures of the pigs, and it was just
Wow.
so much love and history and just so much behind it. And I thought, God dang, man, this guy is just passionate about this. It's inspiring. So
There's
what was your hook? What was your hook?
My hook isn't as romantic.
Well, I was with Duncan, so the romanticism was very low.
my hook was I was a musician my whole life, singer songwriter until I was about 31. I decided to get out of music at some point. I created a deadline for myself and kind of hit that deadline and was like, okay, I'm done. Went down to Miami, hated Miami. I was also, very used to a very wild lifestyle. And there was too much of it, not any drug in particular or anything, there was no like major addiction or anything, but I was a lead singer in rock groups, like, you party all the time.
Yeah.
And got down to Miami and it was like everyone I knew down there was from the music business and they're like, come on, let's go. We're going to this club. We're going. And I was just like, nah, you know what? This wasn't the right thing for me. And I was in this, was in a terrible relationship. I got out of the relationship and I went up to Tampa. My uncle was in St. Pete, and I stayed with him. And then I really fell in love with Tampa, and I moved to Tampa. And I worked from home. I had just started my own business over, the internet and doing telephone sales and stuff. And I'm not going to go to Starbucks. I'm really not a big coffee guy, so I started to.
I'm going to end this interview right now. No, go ahead.
I just, it doesn't agree with me. I'm a tea guy. My wife is the coffee person. She's like a maniac.
Yeah.
So anyway, I ended up hanging out at Tampa Humidor. And there was a guy there, young guy named Brian, who turned out to be, he used to be a sales rep for Oliva. And he started getting me into the cigars. Now, I was a sneakerhead. I collected sneakers. I had a closet full of 60, 70 pairs of sneakers. Everywhere time I moved, I had to do something with these things. And so I felt like I was already turning like 34, 35, and I was like, this is getting old.
Yeah.
And so I kind of took my sneakerhead mentality and turned it towards cigars. So I didn't want to smoke it unless it was a Tatuaje Monster or the Black Series, something that only came out, a rare and whatever the Alec Bradley one is that comes out once a year, all these evergreen limited editions. And so I went crazy for that stuff. And I turned into a cigar head, or they called us then cigar nerds, but I call it cigar head. And so one thing led to the other, and I fell in love with cigars. But you had asked me what my first cigar was. I remember when I was probably 16 or something, I smoked a Macanudo with this guy who was kind of like the Tony Soprano of my town where I grew up in Allentown. You're from Pennsylvania, too. Yeah. So he was like the big kind of, I don't know if he's illegal or not, but definitely on the cusp and a big personality.
Yeah.
And, you grow up in Pennsylvania, there's a ton of these kind of guys.
He may not be he may not be connected, but he knows somebody who knows somebody.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Doing his own thing. And so, it was the 90s. Now, I didn't know it was the cigar boom. I'm 16 years old. What do I know? Mm-hmm. But anyway, I could go down memory lane with this, but I smoked it, hated it, or didn't hate it. I just didn't, whatever. And then when I got to Tampa Humidor, I didn't so much love the cigars, but I needed a place to hang out a couple days a week.
Yeah.
I was tired of sitting in the house, so I just gravitated towards it. And then about 6 months in, I bought a box of La Gloria Cubano, the regular line, in the Churchill, natural, and I smoked them all. And by the end of the box, I was a cigar guy, and I could actually taste some of the different notes. I couldn't get all the stuff I get now, but I could taste,
Yeah, that's an enlightening moment. when that happens.
Yeah,
It really
yeah,
is. It's like going to church.
yeah.
What's
It's
up,
like
man? We got a lot of
becomes like,
people here. What's up, Amendola? Jeffrey Amendola just hopped on. Dustin Perdome.
oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah. So,
Oh, guys, there was a guy you mentioned, Haskell. I think he might be in the club, or I know that name. We definitely have a Haskell
Chris
in the club.
Haskell. Yeah, we got Bones is on. He was asking where you're located. I think
Or
somebody answered
so
that
what?
question. Yeah. So, you were saying that Haskell might be a member. So, what does someone have to do to become a member, and what can they expect?
Nothing. I mean, they just go to the website, they fill out a quick questionnaire. It gives me an idea of where their palate is. And then within, 3 to 5 days, they get their first package. And the first package is typically an intro package or the current month's package, whichever, is I feel is more suitable for the questionnaire they filled out.
Yeah.
And that's it. They start, and typically they get hooked from there, and they stay with me.
Yeah. So what? So you what? I because I filled it out, and it was very interesting the different questions that were being asked. So you take a look at that, and then you fit the cigars with that palette.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree. So, in the beginning of the club, that quiz was a lot of the deciding factors of what you got.
Right.
Cigars have become so rare that I can't, unless I can't get enough for the whole club. Like, for instance, this month, that package you got, everyone got the same thing.
Right.
Okay. They were all phenomenal smokes. You had a 4 or 5 year aged Padilla from Raíces Cubanos. You had a beautiful Maduro. I gave that like a 93 when my wife and I smoked it. You have the Uncle Paulie, one of the best cigar morning, coffee sticks you can find. And then you have the J.C. Newman made the Good Life for us. And that's a very unique, decadent, it's like smoking a chocolate cake. So you have a wide array, and that'll give me, listen, if you write me an email after that and say, hey, I hated that Good Life. Well, now I know. I'm not going to
Yeah.
send you something in that, kind of anymore. So that's kind of how it goes. But then it's like this month, I can't tell you what's in the box. I don't want to surprise anyone, but there's 4 cigars that the whole club is getting differently. So you'll get one, someone else will get a different one, and so you guys are going to see each other on social media and go, "What the hell? How come I didn't get that?" And it's just not enough,
Right.
whole club.
That's pretty
They're
interesting,
aged,
though.
yeah.
Benino asked a question. What's your retention rate? He said it seems pretty high.
The retention rate is high. We've been very, very fortunate with that. If I had to give you an exact number, I think I lose maybe 15 to 20% of the people that join. Out of those 15 to 20%, the ones that respond to me when I ask them if I did anything wrong are telling me it's either money issues, where the guy lost his job, his wife's out of work. Hey, listen, these bills add up. Or some people do give me negative feedback, and I try to take, you know, uh, respond or learn from that
Yeah.
and say, okay, hey, you know what? That's the third person this month that told me they don't like this cigar from this company. Well, I guess maybe we shouldn't work with that company anymore.
Right.
That kind of thing. Or maybe I shouldn't, say this or that, or, whatever it is. So the retention rate is great. And the retention rate is so good because the cigars taste better when they come out of that package. The reason why they taste better when they come, I could give someone, I'm very confident about this, that I could give someone a stick, okay, that sat in someone's humidor, or better yet, in a shop, okay, you could buy that same stick, smoke it with no background information on it, stored the way that that brick and mortar stores
Mm.
their cigars, with their own air in the water in the air humidifying system and that kind of thing, versus when you get a cigar from Privada, look, you see these coolers, do you see those?
Yeah.
Okay, so when a cigar comes to me from a factory, I put it in the cooler for 30 days with Boveda 69, okay. After a month, it gets put into the package that you got. Okay. So, like, look, just so you know, I'm not like, giving you the runaround. I mean, this is what's here. I mean, it's craziness in here. We're outgrowing our space very quickly.
Wow.
But then it sits in here for 30 days before I ship it. So by the time the cigar got to you, it has only been humidified with Boveda for 60, probably somewhere between 65 and 75 or 80 days before you get it. I'm telling you, it makes the cigar better. I tell people this all the time, the smaller the compartment with the Boveda, the better, because it's more manageable. It's easier to regulate. And so it becomes a more even thing. And then to top it off, you then open it, you read about it. So now you have a story. The cigar starts to feel more special and it becomes an experience. And that's the secret to my sauce. And you know what? A ton of people tell me, oh, you shouldn't say that. People are going to copy. You want to copy. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Like I said, I'm here for one reason, and that's to push cigar culture. I love cigars, and I think that it really should be looked at a lot more culinary than it is now.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you don't want to be copied, then you got to be quiet, and you'll stay small, and then won't become successful. Steve Bernstein said that you're one of the few online cigar spots where you can actually smoke the cigar right away. Because
Yes.
when you get because I do, I mean, every time I get cigars, I always throw 'em in my humidor and kind of let them get some time to acclimate and so on. But the process that you're going through, it's
I actually
plug and
prefer
play.
you. I prefer, people ask me about this all the time, and I say, listen, I prefer you to keep it in the bag. A lot of guys have trouble doing that because they have that's their art in the process. You know, they store it at a certain way, and that's really cool too. So, but yeah, they do come ready to smoke.
That's awesome. So how long you been doing this?
It's April is wait. Are we going on 3 years or 2 years? April 17, so 19. We're not close to well, we're getting close to April, so about 2 years, 24 months.
Now, see, that's nice. So Hammond had a question for you because this is funny and learned something new is that you're a cigar hunter. Obviously, you're trying to find the rare cigars, and that's when I was doing my traveling, I started getting into looking for the rare stuff, the stuff that no one could find, and some of the things that I would find in some of the tobacco shops. It was amazing. So, what's your white whale cigar? Is the question.
Yeah, so I mean, for my personal collection, um, I found a can of Tatuaje Black from, I think it was the first year it was released or something. It was like a 13 or a 12 or something like that. And it's, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The For the club, there's been so many of them because the word gets out that I'm doing this, and it also gets out that, hey, the brands that are in the club, because the guys are so social media savvy, you really creates awareness about the brand. And so with that, I get calls now. I don't have to hunt as hard because now I get calls. But when I first started, I worked with a humidor, a B&M in Kansas, in Wichita, called West Side Humidor.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a player who had their own brand of cigars, which someone just bought from them recently. It was called Dissident. Okay. And they also were a store that had a lot of cigars made for them. In fact, if you don't mind, if I go off camera for a second, well, you know what?
Go rogue.
Okay, hold on one sec.
That's all right. So, for all you who are joining us, we're here with Brian Descend of Privada Cigar Club. Got the website up top. Check it out. Wait. Yeah, right there. Check out the website. A couple questions you got to answer. Pretty much diving into your palate, what you like, what you prefer, and you get yourself a nice packet. And I got to tell you, I got mine. I started smoking. I smoked the Uncle Paul the other day. It was outstanding. Thanks, Dookie. Good to see you, brother. So we're back. We're back live with Brian. What's
Yeah,
up, Brian?
I'm not gonna go digging through its craziness in here right now.
I don't want to see anything topple in the background and get buried.
Right. That's happening here. So, especially when I'm in here alone, no one will find me until tomorrow. My recent purchase from them was a shipment of, got like 1,000 of them. They're Room 101, called the Ichiban. You remember that? The one that was wrapped in a white paper with the Japanese colors and it had
Vaguely,
tissue
yeah.
paper. Okay, he made that in a big Salomon for West Side Humidor, and I bought the rest of their stuff out because this cigar it's on the website. You can buy it single. You don't have to be a member to buy it. This cigar is such an amazing experience. It reminds me of like smoking tea or something. Like there's just so many nuanced flavors that it's just incredible. And if you want to try the experience without joining the club, you buy something on the shop and read the tasting notes right on the shop, and you'll get the experience. You get a better price when you buy it as a in the subscription because I got predictability in thing.
Yeah.
That's my ease is my life.
That's great. One of my favorite finds, I grabbed it off the desk, the top there, just because I was in North Carolina and I went in this little strip mall in the middle of nowhere. Went in this tobacco shop because you go in those tobacco shops and they have a small humidor, you can find some crazy stuff. So I walk in there and he has the old pre-Davidoff Camachos all over the place, right?
Ooh.
Listen though, all of them tobacco beetles. I kid you not. So I'm like, son of a bitch. So I look up and I see boxes wrapped in plastic. So I pulled it down, blew the dust off of it, went over. I said, "How much for these?" He's like, "They're $90-some." I'm like, "I'm not giving you $90-some. I'll give you 80." He's like, "Oh, what?" I said, "Listen, it's been sitting up there forever. It's got dust on it. I'll give you 80." He goes, "Okay." Came back the next day, bought the other box for 80, and it happened to be the Camacho, the release of the Diploma.
Oh wow.
Two
That's so
boxes, and this is kind of my the holy grail for me with because
sure.
I found some really cool rare old stuff along the way, but this one really was just outstanding because the Corojo and the band inside is just, I don't know if you can see that, it's
So
all, I mean it was aged. You open up, there's 18
that.
there's 18 in here.
What? So, people don't like. That's one of the things that I would tell you if I'm giving you a CLE or a Camacho from back in those days. They tell you that Corojo is the original Corojo. That's before Cuba had to hybrid the seed because of mold. This is the original Cuban seed tobacco. It's very special.
I have two more left in my humidor. I had two boxes. They've lasted me for a couple of years when I got them. They were wrapped. I mean, the paper they were wrapped in was just completely yellow and brown.
Wow.
But I bought them from the shop because they were still wrapped in cellophane, so they still were safe. I did, put them in the freeze for a little bit. But I gotta tell you, what's up, Antoine? Good to see you. That was my white whale. That was mine. So, anything you?
Hey, you want to see a white whale I do have
Yeah.
available? Let me show you.
Hamad, your question is on deck next. As soon as we get Brian back, we're looking at the Tower of Power. Looks like a little bit of cedar shelf Stonehenge.
Okay. This is called Hechicera, which has something to do with witchcraft. This is one of the most beautiful boxes I've ever seen.
Not to pull
when
out
you
Velvet Jesus if you're talking about witchcraft.
when you first look at it, you don't really think much of it, but when it sits on the table, you start to look at it more and more and go, "Wow, that's a beautiful box."
Yeah.
So they were made in 2013 by a woman who partnered with Christian Iroa. Speaking of Camacho,
Really?
She's into, I guess, spirituality,
Right.
maybe sorcery or something. I don't want to speak on things I don't know about, but so she made these beautiful female empowered cigars. She's
Wow,
very
look at that.
power of female, and it's really cool stuff. And these are smoking like champs.
Wow.
And I'm trying to. He's checking his factory to see if he has enough for me to put them in the club.
That'd be awesome.
He still has enough yet, but I'm working. Either way, it'll go in the shop. But I really want enough for the club, and it's a really unique find.
So
So
make
that's the
sure
kind of stuff you
make
get.
sure any of those bags to Greenville, South Carolina finds us one of those finds.
Oh, I will. I will.
So Hamad wanted to know. He said, Brian,
Ahmad,
he said, did the club help any companies to rise? Have
is
you
that
helped
is,
anybody get on the scene?
is that Hamad from UAE or UK? It's got to be him.
Ahmad Rashad,
Uh,
I don't know.
okay, so have we helped? Yeah, I think we've helped a ton of brands. In fact, we now have brands, bigger brands, coming to us to do, sort of consulting. I don't know what you want to call it, but we make a project for the club. They promote it, we promote it, and some of them are going to start putting them in stores now once we're done, and kind of using the club to promote new releases and stuff like that. So you're going to get stuff first before anyone else has it, that kind of
I
thing.
think Karen says she has that cigar in her shop. It's Karen Berger says
Karen
amazing.
does.
She says I have in
Karen's
my
on.
store amazing cigars.
Karen's on here right now.
Yeah.
Oh, Karen, hello. Hey, those samples you gave me, oh my God, those are great. We're gonna make a big splash with those.
Nice.
Thank you, Karen. I mean, there you go. How about that? There's someone who I hope no one, not to take offense to, but I mean, who's talking about Karen Berger? She's vertically integrated, 100%, owns the farm,
Yep.
owns the factory, sells them direct. I
Yep.
mean,
She's got it going
and the
on.
cigar is great. You tell me a brand that can make you an Esteli Puro from the ground up.
Yep.
I mean, these are the unsung heroes of this industry, and I'm trying to change that. We told people about Karen Berger. They fell in love with Karen Berger. Now more people are talking about her. So there's a brand that I think we helped a little bit. I hope I'm not overstepping when I say that. And we're going to continue to push the reputation because she makes a great product.
Yeah,
How
Karen's
about that?
stuff's really good. She makes really good stuff. I was talking about Felix Mesa. His is from Nicaragua too. Same thing, seed to shelf. Great people. And Gabby Caffey. We talk about the hooks. That was a second hook. Is meeting Gabby, talking to him, and not only having conversations with him about his passion for cigars, but his business sense. I mean,
Yeah.
just a really brilliant guy.
Well,
And when
the
you get
doctor.
yeah, when you get involved
he's
with guys like
obviously
that, man, you're like, God dang.
he's obviously no dummy. And I mean,
Yeah.
there's another guy who he's over here making cigars that people are talking about, but and I know some places mention him and stuff, but not like they should. You know,
Right. I'll tell you,
we're gonna we're
that
gonna change that.
that was one of the things that when we talked about it briefly or back and forth when I started thinking about coming out with a cigar when I was doing my traveling. Um, when Gabby and I start talking, we start getting into conversations. I realized this is a guy who I want to partner with. He is not only a great business guy, he's not only a very knowledgeable in the cigar industry, but he's a genuinely good person, a good human being, and that matters most because I could deal with a lot of shortcomings in folks professionally, but if you get
Sure.
someone who's a good human being, that means the world. And he worked with me, and I think it was in March of last year. Um, Worked with him into blenders to get the blend going. I mean, it wasn't like, hey, we're just gonna put this cigar together for you and put a band on it, good to go. He really walked me through the process, and I learned so much just in those short months early on, and I continue to learn from taking an idea and a thought and actually bringing it to life and being able to say, wow, I have
How
this
cool is
cigar.
that?
It's great. And you know, in November, I told him, I said, I want to take a big step and I want to come out with a Lancero, a barber pole Lancero. And he's like, we can do it. We can do it.
We put it in the club.
So what was really cool about this though, and I tell the story because he comes back to me and goes, hey, you know how Lanceros, he got a tight draw? And I go, yeah. He's like, yeah, we were having some issues, but we have someone who has a way of um, manipulating the binder and the filler. He goes, I think we hit a home run. And I'll tell you what, it's amazing the draw on this. I mean, I'm biased, of course. I'm not going to lie. But
Oh, though, you know if it's good or
Well,
not.
I'm biased, but of course, when you invest in it, right? And that, when you get your samples, you're like, all right, cool, this is great, And then when you get the first shipment, you're like, oh shit, man, that's a lot of boxes. This better be fucking good. It's like, you know, and then when the Lancero came, I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus, this better be good. And I liken it to like politics because I always figure if I vote for someone, I'm going to be their biggest critic because they earn my vote. So if I have someone making my cigar and I get it, I'm going to be the biggest critic. I'm just not going to say it's great because it's my cigar. And I'll tell you, I couldn't be any happier. He is a great
Good.
guy, and he's got great cigars. I'll tell you what, man. His San Andres has always it's been my top cigar for the last couple of years.
Fantastic. He's done amazing stuff for the club. The club loves him. We're gonna keep running with him. I really dig him and his style and the people he works with. He's turned me on to some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah,
like the Kuwait cigar we had.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great cigar, but he's a great guy too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You want to work with him,
100%.
There's folks that are just jerks or kind of hard to deal with. What's that?
Not too many people in this industry you want to do.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that there's a lot of people out there like, yeah, they make a great cigar, they're talented, but they're kind of an asshole, they're a jerk. But
Sure.
the guy literally is just one of the most genuinely nicest guys I met. Felix Mesa was the same way. I met Mike Bellotti. What an incredible guy. Oscar Rodriguez. Just when you meet these guys, you're like, wow, some great people.
Yeah.
I've never had the pleasure of meeting Karen personally, but we've exchanged pleasantries, and I've smoked her cigar, and I've been to her shop, and I'll tell you, great stuff.
Yeah,
Great
for
stuff
sure.
coming out of that factory, man. Really good
For
stuff.
sure.
So, what's the future of Privada?
Well, we're filming a TV show or a show. We're cutting our teeth with it. I'm trying to. I guess I would portray it as so.
Gabby says I'm not an asshole.
It's a show based on our website, Spirited Smoke. So when Facebook and Instagram started throwing people off because of tobacco, we started this website called spiritedsmoke.com. You go there, it looks just like Facebook, and you can, chat and communicate with your friends, and no one's going to bother you over tobacco.
Spiritedsmoke.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we decided to turn it into a show. And basically what we do is each episode we have a theme. The first episode is the olfactory senses and retrohaling. So really teaching people that you're not actually tasting it, you're smelling it, so to speak. And so we go out to one every episode we go out to one either humidor, farm, factory for cigars, and we find a unicorn of a cigar, and we talk to the masters there about whatever what's relevant to that topic.
Right.
And then we go to a distillery once an episode, and we talk to professionals in the spirits, how to taste spirits better, how to pair things, stuff like that. And we also grab a bottle of their most special rare stuff, and at the end of every episode we come back here, we smoke and drink and get hammered on on TV.
So no, that's cool, man. So
yeah.
Are you going to be doing any music, any singing?
No, none. That far behind.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah, but you know what, you mentioned creating something and how exciting that was. And I got to tell you, as an entrepreneur, I've had one common edge over my, I don't know, there's no competition. I'm just saying I've had this one recurring success factor, which is I was used to going into a studio, taking a track, writing a song to it, and recording it right there on the spot.
Right.
I think that's a practice that so many people should have. Everyone should have this practice, because when you create something all the time and then you turn it into business, you go, oh, I got this idea. Well, guess what? We'll do it. And it's done. Now here's the business. Now let's go market it. Now let's, whereas a lot of people that never created, they go, yeah, I'll think about it. And, one day and, that kind of thing. And so it's intimidating or unfamiliar, so they don't actually follow through with it. So that's been something that's been a very successful thing for me, and I love creating bands and cigars now. It's a lot of fun.
Well, you know what it is too is when you say that, because you got a lot of my dad calls them the bar stool, coulda, shoulda, woulda beens, and as you said, you have that edge. It not with the competition, maybe it just sets you apart, or allows you to continue to be successful. And I've noticed not only the people who say, well, maybe I have this great idea, or people have an idea and I'm going to give it a try, but they never put it on paper. They don't have a plan. Is I think that you're not afraid to fail. And
100%.
and because or make a mistake, because you can make a mistake, you can fail and learn from it and be better. Or and I think that there's kind of the duality of that statement is you're not afraid to fail, or that you just won't allow yourself to fail. And I think those kind of are always jockeying for position.
So my first box in the club is nothing compared to the box of today. Okay, the first show that we do of Spirited Smoke is going to be probably terrible. The second one will be better. The third one will be. By the 10th episode, you worked out the kinks, and hopefully Netflix is falling, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, and then the other thing is, how about this? You learn more from your fails than you do from your wins.
Oh, 100%, man.
As you can.
100%. 100%. I mean, I look at, even when I started first doing the show, it was like I liken it to a business plan. It's a living document. It's always changing.
Sure.
Joel wants to know when the first episode is going to be available.
So we just started editing it tonight before we did this. And it looks to me like it's probably going to take 2 weeks to edit this first one, maybe 3. And then we're just going to put it out. Even though I don't have another episode behind it, I know that it get easier and easier to make. I'm going to think that the timeline between episodes is going to be about 45 days, 30 to 45 days to make. And it also cost me like $2,500 to $3,000 to do it. So I'm coming up with that out of my pocket because I just think the culture needs it. We're going to take cigars off the porch. And I think cigars have been on the porch on YouTube and on television. A guy smokes, he tells you what he's there's no movement. We're going to take it out to the streets. And I think that this is something that's very necessary if we're going to push this culture forward.
No, I agree 100% with you.
So expect it in 2 to 4 weeks.
2 to 4 weeks. Now, Ryan Tucker's got a question for you. He wants to know if you're going to make a cigar version of your song Label Girl.
No. I think tell him I think we did already. The Good Life.
The Good Life?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you about that when I got it right here in my custom made Boveda by Y.A. Bear Clothing.
Nice. I like.
Yeah, this is the guys Joe Genovese down in Florida. It's Y.A. Bear Clothing. Pardon?
Genovese.
Yeah, Genovese. He's but he does custom Bedas. So cool. I got to give Jennifer a shout out. My fiance, she designed this one.
Oh, nice.
And you send it in, and he's a great guy, man. Great guy, great product. So this is here. Let me do this real quick, so we don't get.
So you got to let that. I tell people before they smoke that it's still pretty. I probably should have held it a little bit longer. That wrapper's so thick, it's just retaining a ton of moisture. I like to let mine sit. If I know I'm going to smoke it that night, I put it out during the day at no humidity whatsoever.
Yeah,
but
I can feel it.
Yeah, they're smoking incredibly. So that band is the Beverly Hills Hotel. So if you've ever seen the Beverly Hills Hotel, that's their font. The
nice and dark, man.
The wrapper around it is the green part around it is the palm leaves they use for their wallpaper, and then the stripes are the awning. I screwed up on the stripes though. I don't know how I approved the proof. They were supposed to be green, just like the awnings there, but they came out black. So whatever, it's all good.
So tell us about the blend, because I'll tell you what, I can feel the moisture that you described, but man, that is dark and oily and looks delicious. So
I made that with Eric Newman. Thankful that he decided to work with me. We made it. I wanted something in a San Andreas, and I think he kind of steered me into a broadleaf that he had around. and we went through a couple of samples with some of his blenders, and I finally got that one. And if you know the club, you know that I like a smaller ring gauge, and like we do a lot of Lanceros and stuff like that, and I got that in that exact size, and I was like, "That's it, don't change it." And they're like, "Don't you want, your standard, millennial bullshit?" That's how I think some of the older guys look at me, right?
Millennial
Don't you
bullshit.
want
That's
your
funny.
Lancero or your fucking Corona or one of these? And so no, I said no, don't touch this blend. This is, oh man, my battery's dying. I said no, don't touch this blend. I want it exactly like this. And so the club members, they got it. They're like, wow, this is surprisingly a large ring gauge for you. It's probably it's a 54. And I'm telling you, you've never smoked a cigar quite like that. It is so unique. It's like smoking a chocolate cake.
Really?
It's just so decadent and different. I'm not saying it's the best thing you'll ever have. I'm just saying you haven't had one exactly like that.
Right.
Reminds me a little of Saka's broadleaf, how gunky that thing is.
Yeah. I'll have to let it sit out. I'll smoke that tomorrow night. Nice Friday after a big meal.
Yeah.
Relaxing.
Oh yeah.
So you're saying Lancero is a millennial? So basically we've come full circle now?
No, I'm not saying that.
Right?
I'm saying that, like, I feel like Lancero's always been looked at as like this cigar nerd thing. The big companies don't like them because they don't really sell a lot.
Yeah.
Or you have to, like, a niche product,
I can tell you, releasing mine, I thought it would be a niche product, and it kind of is, but I've gotten some really good response from it, and I think they're coming back. I mean, listen, for me, I'm like, Gab and I were talking about this. I said, I'm going to be the barber pole king. I mean, next month, I'm going to be releasing a barber pole that is a Candela, Connecticut barber pole. I don't know of any out there. Thing's freaking delicious. I'll tell you, those folks, the guys down at Tabacalera Cafe, holy balls.
Yeah.
We worked on the blend, and they hit it on. It's awesome. I'm calling it the Sweetgrass Gringo.
Love it. Oh, nice. Yeah, you mentioned that to me. I got to try all your stuff.
I'll send you some stuff.
Okay, and ditto, and I'll also, I got your address now. So.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, I've always been a big fan of Lanceros. And like you said, it's something that, it's not, one of those things that it's in pockets. If I'm traveling, I'm like, okay, I stop in here, 6x60, stop in here, blah, blah, blah. Then I'll stop in a shop at like Quartermasters in Maryland. Boom, Lanceros. I go to Ned's Cigar Shop in Newtown, Pennsylvania. Lancero, crazy Lanceros.
Newtown's down near Philly, not quite near Philly.
North of Philly.
Yeah.
That's
north. Where they filmed that movie with Christopher Walken and Sean Penn. Remember that movie about the farm boys or whatever it was?
Is that the one with Madonna?
No, but it was around that time.
At close range. Christopher Walken was at close range. It had Madonna and me.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I remember being there with Chris Penn. He was skinny then. He wasn't fat.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah, man, I love that movie, and I always when I like a movie, I always find out where it was filmed, and it was filmed there.
There's a guy up there who's got a cigar company, Flatbed cigars, really good stuff.
Really man, we gotta have a lot more of these conversations because you're giving me leads. Now I get to go on my hunt. I love that.
Listen, I want some commission. I will work for cigars.
All right. I'm with you, man. My phone, I charged up for this. I don't understand. I guess maybe Skype's draining my battery, and I'm in the warehouse. I don't have my charger.
Well, listen, man. I know your battery's dying. I appreciate we probably sit here for another hour and chat. But
I
know. We had a lot of folks on. I want to first of all thank you to everybody who's hopping on. Thank you for the great questions. I always want to thank Joe Genovese from YA Barra. Love him. He's great. I want to thank Gabby Caffey, Caffey 1901 Brands, and the folks at Tabacalera Caffey, and also the folks at us at the Boutique Cigar Association. We started a podcast. We just started our first podcast called Protecting Legacy. And, we discuss we discuss other things other than cigars, but we really are going to be focused more on talking to brick and mortar owners, discussing the successes, the failures, because owning a brick and mortar is tough, man. It's tough, you know, and it's like, you know, some of these folks, it's you know, what's the key to success, and really, you talk to some of these guys, and it always seems like the the travel and the key to success is simple. It's not easy, you know. So you know, simplicity never necessitates ease. It's very hard. It's the simplest things in life are very hard. They're just simple to do.
With rent the way it is now, with commercial real estate the way it is now, in my opinion, inflated. But if you can fill it, then it's not inflated. Like if you can find someone to pay what you're asking for. Now, near me in Orlando, they think that this is Los Angeles, and a lot of guys are sitting on empty commercial space that they're obviously, you know, it's part of a portfolio, and they don't care how long they sit on it. They want what they want for it. But it's ridiculous. So between the rising cost of real estate, commercial real estate, and the tax on tobacco, and the just scrutiny of tobacco, yeah, it's becoming harder and harder.
They're getting hammered down. I mean, you see in Maryland, they're pushing for a law to do away with flavored tobaccos, menthol cigarettes, where, you know, menthol cigarettes should have been addressed a long time ago in the original bill, but it wasn't because you know, there's a reason why they call it the Marlboro Man Act, and when everybody started realizing who was lining the pockets of the you know, of the lawmakers and the politicians, they backed off a little bit and allowed those menthol cigarettes to kind of hang out there. But there's
How we got lumped into all this is complete bullshit, and someone needs to get in the president's ear, or and I mean, you know who's doing a hell of I mean, between the Cigar Rights of America, which I joined thanks to Gabby, and but the Newman family.
yeah,
When I go out there, they've got some politician in their place at all times. They're really pushing hard. They got them to agree to $12 being premium now, right? So that's a start.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. They also got them to not put the stupid sticker on the boxes.
yeah.
So I mean, we're doing okay, but there's a long road ahead of us. Someone's got to just exempt us from this. This is not for kids. No kids buying this.
We said it before, man. The president, 100%. You know, I feel like there's going to be a political shift and move, because you give the cigar industry an exemption as the president, you want to secure those electoral votes in Florida and Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
You know, and you know,
you strengthen your base, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, the problem that, not to get political, but the problem that Trump has is his brother died of lung cancer from cigarettes. You know, he was a big drinker and a smoker, and he died very young, and that's why Trump doesn't drink or smoke. And so for him, he has no love for tobacco of any kind. If he hears tobacco, he's going the other way. So it's an issue. It's an issue. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, well, this is because of the liberals. Well, not really. I mean, you know, sure, Democratic states do tax a lot more. I get that. But I think this bill was the bill that really hurt us was introduced Republican. It was passed in a Republican, Senate or Congress, and a Republican president signed off on it. So you can't blame any one party for this. You just have to create awareness and talk to your local government about why it's important that ultra premium cigars are not lumped in with cigarettes or vape. It's something totally different.
Yeah, we got in that conversation about the TPE and the pictures and the cigar side, and then there's the vaping and the CBD and everything else, and kind of what the impression that gives, you know, at that event. And we really did dive into that pretty deep on our podcast, because
I'm not thrilled about the CBD. First of all, none of my guys smoke infused stuff. We don't want infused stuff. We want the most natural product we could possibly get our hands on. Number two, I believe that America is being duped with this CBD because the real CBD isn't legal in most states. And so you're buying this CBD oil that really doesn't do what CBD does. You go to California and you buy CBD gummies and you eat them, you feel something. You go, like in Florida here, you get the CBD and you try it. I guarantee you're not going to feel anything.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, being in the medical industry for 20 plus years, I hate, you know, I do understand that there is some medicinal, benefits to CBD and even with marijuana. I completely understand and respect that.
Sure.
The only thing I've always said is, you know, I like to see clinical trials and testing because I hate seeing people go off of medication that they claim is, you know, well, this is synthetic. It's made, understanding it's expensive, and then they go on this stuff, you know, and I liken it to snake oil. You know, it's like the guys back in the day with their horse and buggy, and you see people getting sicker, and you know, I just want to see, I want to see a true benefit in a specific disease state before you start painting with a broad stroke and saying that CBD cures cancer, glaucoma, I got GI issues. I have this, I have that. Um, let's put some, you know, put some money behind it if you think that, you know, run a clinical trial, run it against
Listen,
placebo, see what happens.
CBD, I do think CBD has some medicinal purposes for digestion and for anxiety and things like that. It can be calming. Oh boy, it can be calming, but you know, I'm just saying it. I don't like it, and I don't want it in my cigar.
Right. No, I'm with you. Listen, I've always said that vape shops should be separate. They shouldn't be allowed to sell cigars or tobacco. And I think tobacco shops, like cigar shops, should not be selling vape and e-cigarettes.
Absolutely, I'm down to 5%.
All
So
right, man. Listen, I want to thank you for hopping on. Anybody who wants to try out this great cigar club, I joined. I belong. Privada Cigar Club. The website's up top. I'll make sure that I post it on the Kerr Viajante page. And
I want to return the favor, and I want to start promoting more of what you're doing because you're good for cigars, and I appreciate you. And I appreciate you having me on. And shout out to Dr. Gabby Caffey
yes,
for
sir.
setting. And man, let's do this again in a couple of months. I got something new that I think I'm gonna get a little groundswell with, and I want to include you in that.
I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate it, and we'll connect. And I'll send you some samples. I'll send you a few. I'll send you a care package.
I ditto. We'll exchange a mail bomb as the
Sounds
kids
good.
call it.
As the kids call it, these damn millennials. All right, Brian. Listen,
take care, brother.
from Brian
All
from
right.
Privada Cigar Club and El Viajante here from Viajante Stogie Road. Everybody have a great evening and a great week, and God bless.